Welcome back to the Morning Kickoff Show. I'm your host, Matt Witt, and here we are going to talk about NFL bold predictions for the 2022-2023 season, looking at the NFC North division. Now, I am a diehard Vikings fan, but we're going to try to look at this from a solely unbiased perspective, starting it off with number 5, and that will be that Kirk Cousins will finish top 5 in MVP voting this year. This is a bold prediction, as Kirk Cousins, I don't believe at all, just about any of us consider him to be a top 5 quarterback. However, you can consider that he's in a top 5 position to play quarterback in the entire league. What I mean by this is all things are pointing to Kirk Cousins having a career year. This is the best situation he's had his entire career. He finally has a head coach who believes in him. He's throwing to one of the best wide receiver tandems in the whole league with Justin Jefferson, one of the most talented receivers. He has one of the best running back duos to lay the pressure off of his back. So right there, the offense just shows that he's loaded with playmakers. The only question mark comes down to the offensive line. We have no idea how this Vikings offensive line will look, but there's no question that the playmakers will hold their own. The defense will also hold their own. So you don't have to be a top 5 most talented quarterback to finish top 5 in MVP voting. That's not really how it goes. As we've seen quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford, who would be on the same level of Kirk Cousins as talent. A lot of us would consider him to be on the same level. And Matthew Stafford got a lot of respect simply because their team was just really good and he was throwing to Cooper Kupp. He had Sean McVay calling the plays. This is pretty much the exact same quarterback in the exact same situation the Rams were in this last year. For that reason, I have Kirk Cousins on this list, as I don't believe he's a top 5 quarterback, but I do believe that obviously he's in a top 5 situation. Number 4 is that the Bears will finish with a top 5 draft pick in 2023. I'm sorry to do you Bears fans like this, but this defense has fallen apart and they look like a bottom 5 team in the league. Their wide receiver group was already bad and it got worse this last offseason. I mean, their offensive line was already bad, and you can argue even that got worse. Looking at it right now, Justin Fields is in a terrible situation. Yeah, they're going to probably finish with a top 5 draft pick. And I know Bears fans might hate me for putting this here, but I believe Bears fans at the end of the day will secretly want this as well, because you're looking to be in a rebuild right now. The Bears desperately need it. They gave up all their first round draft picks, trading for Khalil Mack and the other trades that they've made. And finally, it's looking like they can maybe build around Justin Fields if he is the guy for their franchise. Otherwise, like I said, they're finishing with a top 5 draft pick. You might be able to find a quarterback as well. Bears, sorry, I do believe right now it's looking like a bottom 5 team right now. There's some talented players to be excited about. I really like Jalen Johnson. Darnell Mooney looks like a solid receiver. Do I think he's a wide receiver 1 quite yet? We're going to have to wait and see. Looking at the defense, they've got some young guys. There's some things to be excited for, Bears fans. Time for you to rebuild, though. It's over. It's over for the Bears fans. Number 3 on this list, or I should say, yes, number 3 on this list is that the Packers defense will carry them to the playoffs. For the first time in history, the Packers defense looks better than the Packers offense. For however many years it's been, the Packers offense has basically solely carried their team to the playoffs. Looking at the connections between Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and then obviously before that you had Brett Favre. There was talent all loaded on the offense and the offensive line as a whole. Now it looks like the Packers defense is top 5 in the league, and their offense has fallen off this last offseason. We're going to have to wait and see. Obviously, it's Aaron Rodgers. Their offense is not going to be bad. At the end of the day, their defense will be what brings them to the next level, and I believe that they still will be maybe the best team in the division or second best and make the playoffs. 2 teams in this division is making the playoffs. I don't know what 2 it's going to be. It's not going to be the Bears. 2 teams in this division will make the playoffs, in my opinion. Jair Alexander is arguably the best corner in the league right now. Eric Stokes going into year 2. Rasul Douglas is unstoppable. Darnell Savage and Adrian Amos making one of the best safety duos. Do I have to keep going on? Devondre Campbell was also somehow a first-team All-Pro this last year. Really bounced his career back. And looking at the defensive line on top of that, you got Kenny Clark and whoever is going to be alongside Kenny Clark right now. I'm blanking out on it, but their defense is stacked, and there's no doubting this. I hate to say it, but I do believe that the Packers have not fallen off yet. Yes, they might have declined a little bit this offseason, especially losing Devontae Adams was the biggest thing. Still, this defense is going to carry them. I'm sorry. Number 3. I have 2 number 3s. Okay, we'll do 3.5 right here. The Lions will have at least 8 wins this upcoming season. The Lions are done with being 4th in this division. I believe that is easily going to be the Bears' next season. We're going to have to wait and see. It's hard to put your faith into the Detroit team. Still, I believe that the Lions will finish either 3rd or 2nd in this division. Maybe they make the playoffs. I believe they will have at least 8 wins, which is more wins than they've had the last 4 or 5 seasons, I believe it was, because they did finish 4th in the division the last 4 years, which is unheard of. How is that even possible? But looking at it right now, the Lions on paper, this is the best Lions roster we've seen since Calvin Johnson was on the roster. I believe right now, with how many new playmakers they added with Jameson Williams, DJ Chark, adding them to the offense, they really needed new wide receivers. That was holding them back this last season. Getting arguably the best player in the draft in Aiden Hutchinson has really completed their pass rush. Their defense, their secondary is finally coming back from IR. That was basically holding them back this last year. Their offensive line, also coming back from IR, is arguably the best in this entire league. Dan Campbell is looking like a promising head coach. He just came off of his first year, and going into year 2 should surprise us all. Yeah, I'm excited for this Lions team. I'll be honest. At the end of the day, though, their Jared Goff is their quarterback, so they're not going to go far in the playoffs if they do make it to the playoffs. But I believe right now they will have a respectable season. Any season over 6 wins for the Lions, over 5 wins for the Lions is a respectable season, and we'll give them that. Number 2 is going to be that Justin Jefferson will finish with over 1,800 receiving yards this next year. I am a huge Justin Jefferson fan, and you guys all already know this. Justin Jefferson is a beast, and I wanted to say for this bold prediction that Justin Jefferson will finish with the most receiving yards this next season. I believe more likely than not that will be the case. I'm going to be completely honest. So I want to get more bold and say that he will finish with over 1,800 receiving yards. That averages to over 106 yards per game. That's over 180 yards more than he had last year. This will finish him with top 5 all time. Top 5 all time if he goes over 1,834, which would be Antonio Brown's record. Unbelievable receiver right now. You have KOC, who loves to pass the ball, loves to revolve his offense around one wide receiver. That was Cooper Kupp the last couple seasons. Now this will be Justin Jefferson. Assuming this will be the case, he will be the focal point of the team. Come on now. Put your money on this guy leading the league in receiving yards easily. Number 1. This one is a hot, bold prediction. That is going to be that Aaron Jones will lead the NFC in rushing yards. Okay, you look at the Packers right now. Look at the Packers the last few years. When you're playing the Packers, what is one thing you need to do? Stop their passing offense. I believe the Packers' passing offense will still be okay simply because they have Aaron Rodgers. But they're going to need to rely on the run game more than they have in the past. And looking at it right now, Aaron Jones is a beast. There's no questioning this. He has suffered with some injuries, and that's the only thing that was holding me back. I don't know if Aaron Jones is going to be able to do this if he does suffer with injuries. Also, A.J. Dillon is a beast. He had an outstanding last couple seasons, or rookie season, I believe it was. Still, Aaron Jones is going to be their number 1 guy when in the backfield, and I would expect him to get roughly 25 carries a game. Looking at the NFC as a whole, there isn't many ground and pound offenses. I mean, there's a lot of great running backs out there with Alvin Kamara, obviously, but he gets injured every year. It's Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley get injured every year. Dalvin Cook gets injured every year. So looking at the running backs in the NFC that are better, or that are, you can argue is better than Aaron Jones, they all seem to get injured just about every year. So we'll have to wait and see. I think that Aaron Jones will surprise us once again this upcoming year, and Matt LaFleur will trust his running backs a little bit more than he has in the past, simply because they don't have their top 3 wide receivers they had this last year. Randall Cobb is still starting for them. That just shows how desperate they are to have another player who can step up like Aaron Jones. So those are my top 5 bold predictions for the NFC North, that Aaron Jones will lead the NFC in rushing yards. Justin Jefferson will have over 1,800 receiving yards. Lions will finish with at least 8 wins. Packers defense will carry them to the playoffs. Bears will end up with a top 5 draft pick, and that Kirk Cousins will finish top 5 in MVP voting. So that's 6 bold predictions right there. Let me know what y'all think.